Hi, everybody.
Hello there. Welcome to our show. We are the Jedi Archives reviewing the Bad Batch after show. This is our first episode of the season because the season just came out, and we are really excited to get into this. I know we all have opinions on it already, and there's a lot of fans are loving it, so it's good. So let's just dive right in. Oh, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Bryce.
And I'm Mike.
All right, let's get into this.
And here we go.
I'm just going to say one thing. I have these new headphones that have better quality audio, and that pre-audio video just blew my eardrums.
It was loud, wasn't it?
It was loud.
I was like, wow.
Why
Yeah,
did
that
you-
I
was
hit the
loud.
volume button. I'm like, okay.
Just blame Dave for how he set it up. So.
I like it, though. I like it. It's just a little too long.
I was
Only like a 5-second countdown, not
Yeah, we-
15.
Well, I don't start recording till 10 seconds, but yeah, they don't see
Okay,
that's
good.
30 seconds.
It's
But
too
yeah,
long.
get under
All
control,
right.
Dave.
So
right,
we're
initial-
gonna review 3 episodes in this show.
Let's,
Mhm.
let's
The
get our-
first 3.
let's
I
get
think
our
Jonathan's
initial
review will be the
reactions.
shortest.
Let's get our, mine's the most complex, actually. Let's get the initial reactions from everyone. I guess I will go. I guess I will go
Please,
first.
please, Jonathan.
It was entertaining for the most part. Episode 2, blow the 1 and 3 out of the water, though. When you're actually with the Bad Batch, it was great. I really, really enjoyed episode 2. 1 is like when she's drawing the days on the wall. I felt the same way. I was like, "Good God, this is slow." But 3 obviously picked it up a little bit. But yeah, my initial reactions, I liked it, but 2 was really good. You guys' initial reactions?
I enjoyed all 3 very much so. And a lot of people, I think, were saying something maybe like episode 2 is more of a filler episode. I didn't think that at all. I think it really did play into the whole story. But the first episode, especially with the marks on the wall, right? Like very reminiscent of Rey. Tying sequels together. I know Star Wars Theory will not be happy about that, but that's all right.
Yeah, and I agree with Bryce. I liked all 3 episodes. They were different. But my favorite one of the 3, and I hadn't thought about the little check marks like Ray, but it's a good catch, Bryce. Good catch. I did like how in episode 1 the dog's name was Batcher, which is what we are because we're the Batchers. That's like the fan name for all the Bad Batch fans are called Batchers. So
Yeah.
that was cool. Cool
Yeah.
little nod to us. But my favorite thing was actually episode number 2 because it had the drain gear. So
You think that was extra drain gear?
I think so.
No.
I think they were because they're carnivorous plants that have taken over. And
Dude,
they're
I
gonna eat them.
I did not make that connection. That's really.
They didn't know what they were because they're long forgotten, but they were just like these slither vines. But then they had little things
I
with
think-
the teeth, and they were moving
I
around.
think
trying to eat them.
maybe they could be. Obviously, not the same. Maybe mutation. Maybe something the
It's
Empire's
in the
trying to make.
Drangier botanical family, but it's a carnivorous,
yeah,
evil
obvious- 'cause
plant.
Carnivores, the drain gear talk. Remember meat. There's
Yeah.
a little difference.
Well,
but-
maybe we haven't seen them talk yet.
I think this is
but we'll see.
I think you're pretty close. Though. This is them taking a species and maybe trying to control it by maybe mutating it or something, taking away a little bit more of its free will, maybe taking away its speech. So
Mhm.
maybe I like that. I did not make that connection. I just thought it was just some plot device. But no, I like that could be drain gear.
Yeah.
I like it.
So,
So
do you guys
my
want to go through a little talk about each episode? I mean, a little quick review or no?
No,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay, so let's go into a little bit deeper into the first issue. The first episode had Shuttle 135 coming in to land on Tantus during a storm. Pretty cool. But this shuttle then all of a sudden has some problems and it crash lands, right? And then that was kind of weird. But then it actually was setting up something else later. Spoiler alert. But if
well,
you've
it kind
if
of
you're watching this,
things. Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
did. You're right. So that
yeah.
was I like that how they're thinking ahead. It's not just like random episodes standing on their own. So it's nice it's all connected.
Wow,
And I
Disney thinking ahead. Trevor in this mess, by the way, just so you guys know that.
and then I like how Bryce mentioned how Omega was doing the little tick marks on the wall. Very reminiscent of Ray, and I like it more now. So I'm going to rewatch it just to because I do like Ray.
Well, and
So
then then there was the transition, right? Like it's reminiscent of Ray is that obviously she was on Jakku at a very young age, probably around Omega's age at the beginning of that episode, and at the end we see the transition to her being much older and much more mature, and that's where you see all those marks. So yeah, I feel like there's that, how Ray was always saying that, I'm waiting for my family. Well, that's exactly what Omega is doing. She's waiting for her family, like Hunter, Wrecker,
that's her family.
Crosshair.
Yep.
That's her family, and
Those are her brothers.
even
Yep.
yeah. So it, I thought it was great. I thought it was a really cool thing to the sequel trilogies. I actually love The Force Awakens. It's actually my favorite out of the sequel trilogy, to be honest with you. And so,
Wow.
like for me, like this connection was really cool to see.
Nice, Jonathan.
Talking about the whole episode.
Oh, any to what
Yeah,
Bryce said?
anywhere, yeah.
No, I just I think I already mentioned it was a little slow for me, but they are starting it off. They're trying to tell a bigger story.
Much bigger story.
Yeah, that's what it's
Mhm.
trying to do. But was definitely entertaining, I guess. Enough, but definitely had its slow parts.
Definitely connecting to the bigger story of the sequel trilogy from before the original trilogy because it has that whole thing about the M count, so it's connecting to the prequel
Oh, so that's
trilogy.
something I did want to talk about was that Nala say I don't know if they mentioned the word M count before or is it a phrase they
Hmm.
mentioned now? But like, okay, so that's kind of what they're
They
doing.
they
And I don't
mentioned it in with Grogu, remember, with the
so
child.
I know some
Mm-hmm.
people are saying that maybe uh Omega might be force sensitive. I don't really think that. I think maybe her blood's just dormant, or maybe it's some kind of way that makes them do that. So it's got some amino acid or some protein that helps make the transition.
Well,
I don't
remember,
think she's force sensitive
but
herself.
remember the beginning when the Bad Batch. Remember the beginning that they had that Jedi on the stretcher, already dead, coming out, who dropped the lightsaber at
Right.
the very beginning on Tipoca City. Remember?
Yeah, that was after
So
they
and
survived
then
Order 66 and came back. Yeah.
right,
Yep.
right. So I'm thinking maybe they were using some of that to blend it with Omega because she was different, and that's why she came out female because she's a clone of Jango Fett. But if they and that was a female clone, female Jedi's hand who fell out, who dropped the lightsaber. Maybe they're trying to splice DNA to have that M count higher in the clone.
I,
Uh,
I yeah, I would say no because that was seriously the aftermath of Order 66. I think the clones just killed her. I don't think that
well,
had anything
just
to
it's
do
a
with it. Like,
possibility.
oh
Possibility.
yeah, I think we got to go way back though. Like, remember, like Clone Force 99, they were enhanced clones and they, or defective or whatever everyone called them, but like they also went through the advanced growth thing. Omega didn't. So
You know,
like in the
Yaddle's blood. When they killed Yaddle years earlier, they could have took her blood DNA. That's it. It's Yaddle. That's why they made the
Yaddle.
episode. That's it.
I,
It's
That's why they
Yaddle.
want Baby Yoda. It's all making sense now.
Oh, Baby Yoda's a clone of Yaddle's DNA.
It's all ticking now. Come on, Bryce. You knew this.
uh,
It's late.
Well, anyway, so Omega's walking through, and then she sees Crosshair, which is cool, because he's bringing him back into the story, and he's not doing so well. Yeah, he's got like the shakes.
yeah.
So they've been doing something to him. He's been
Uh,
abused, or who
Hemlock
knows?
did have a line for him. I don't know if it's this episode or the third episode, but said, I had plans for him. I'm
Right.
like, and
That was the
we
third.
when you watch the trailer, There's that one character who's kind of like full mask. You kind of think, is that him or something? So I don't know. I know, but I'd be kind of interested if that's what he was thinking for him. Something more mind
Mhm.
control on him.
Oh, man. So Jonathan struck a chord. So we're going to advance to the third episode here. We can go back to the second episode, but I believe Omega is force sensitive. I
I do
believe that
too.
it's dormant, just like Sabine Wren. I do think that it can be unlocked. I mean, Yoda has said it. Kanan has said it. The Force resides in all of us. We just have to be open to it. And the fact that her M count, or midi chlorines, that we should call it,
Mhm.
are
Just not
perfect.
clones. That's the whole issue. That's the whole problem. So I don't think clones will ever be force sensitive.
No, because Yoda even said that or who was it too? It was Plo Koon said that the clones were also living things because he said all living things, not just humans or people, but all living things, including
Yeah.
plants.
But
Because
clones
during your
don't have souls. We already know that.
midichlorians don't care about souls. You don't have to go to church.
Captain Rex, come on, bro. The Bad Batch, completely different. I mean, everything about him's different. Yeah, for me, I do believe that she is. That's why that sample that came through at the end, and why Doctor
Nala Se
Doctor
kept destroying them too, right? Remember, she kept
because
destroying them,
she knew
and that's
all
why she
along.
sent her
That's
off to
also
Boca City.
right. That's why she's like, you gotta go, and that's why they're coming after her. But they never had the full expense of the Empire to track them down. Well, now Hemlock does, because that's what Palpatine ordered. Whatever you need, you have it. Whatever you need, just pick up
Mhm.
the transmitter and go. Um, yeah, so I do believe that she is. That's why that sample was happening. That's why Nala Se was trying to do that.
And remember,
Um,
there were hints in the first season when she was more empathic and she could tell like people's feelings. She was emotionally more connected. That was like a force sensitivity of hers that they
and
kind
she
of
was
dropped.
always talking to Crosshair one on one.
Hmm.
Always. Because even at one point she says, I think she says, I know what you're about to do, but don't do it.
I
When
knew what
they
he was
were
about
all
to do. I'm force sensitive.
But how does Omega, who's been sheltered and pretty much grown up in captivity, know what he's about to do?
She sensed it.
Like, come on, like
I can sense what you guys are going to talk about. I'm not.
it's not. It's so I said force sensitive. I never said she's going to be a full blown Jedi, right? There's force sensitive things. Maz Kanata, for instance, is more force sensitive, but she's not a force user,
Hmm.
so she can see things because she even said it to Finn. Like,
Even
you
Chirrut
know,
and Baze too. Chirrut and Baze, they couldn't use the force like Jedi, but
no, but they were very force
they were force
sensitive.
sensitive. Hmm.
Yeah, so I don't think so. I'm not saying full blown Jedi. I'm saying force sensitive,
Hmm.
meaning that she has force abilities, but just not on the same level as a Jedi or even a Sith.
Hmm. Now, going back to the second episode, because we know that time's going by, so I appreciate that. You know, she's getting older. We can tell by Omega's hair; she's growing a ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
She's looking older. So it's nice that they're showing passage of time, because the other seasons seem to be like too close back to back, right? Not much time going by. So I do appreciate that, and I hope it keeps skipping time so it grows older. I liked how they picked up those two regs, and they're gonna drop them off at that island. You know that
They
there was
all three.
three. That's right, all three. Because the one was mean at first, but he actually came around and saved them.
Yeah, I'm trying
So
to
that's
think. What was his name? Mosher?
Mox was Daniel Logan,
Mox.
Mox.
and then
Yeah.
the other two was I forgot, some female doing the voice for them. I forgot her name. I need to look that up.
Oh, okay,
But
cool.
I know I thought Daniel Logan did all three voices, but then when I heard Mox, I was like, no, that's definitely Daniel Logan. And
Yeah,
the
because
other
he
two
did do the
weren't.
voice. That was cool. They brought him back to do
Yeah,
the
Oh,
young.
yeah, it's
the other
great.
two
That
was
was cool.
a different actress. I can't remember though.
It was female.
Yeah, she did the other two voices.
The
But
other thing I want to mention too is Emery. So Emery's the one that's been like work, and she's also a clone, right? So Emery's also
Mm.
special because she's a female clone,
She's
but
Omega's sister.
right.
We find out at the end of season 2.
Right. But we didn't know. She never saw her. She's like, "Where were you?" And she lets her know. You know what? They sent me away. That's why you never saw me.
Do
So I'm
you
wondering.
think, and when she says she's my sister, if she's actually, does she say she's a clone, or maybe the
She is
female
a
DNA
clone.
came? It says she's a clone.
Yes,
I thought maybe the
Omega
female.
knows she's a clone.
she is a clone. Emery
Yeah.
says that she's a clone as well because she asks her. She goes,
Mhm.
"If you're a
Oh,
clone as well, why didn't I ever see you on Taboka City?" And then she says, "Oh, you know what? I was sent away. That's why you never saw me." So we know that. So we don't know why she was sent away. So
The thing on her head tells me one thing,
what does it tell you?
that she's very similar to Tech.
Oh,
Because she's always wearing the goggles, but she's got that head unit like Lobot
like
and
robot.
mhm.
But that could just be an enhancement, for processing data.
Well, right, but they did that even in Rebels. Remember, they were experimenting with those things with oh man, what was the Rhodian's name that
Oh
knew
yes,
Ezra's parents, right? Like
yeah.
he volunteered for that program so that he could keep all that data to one day, be able to help
Hmm.
Ezra. But I think she was sent away along with some of the other people in there to have those enhancements put in, and I think it also helps keep them on task, and no chance of actually having that chip or anything fail.
Hmm. So by the end of the first episode, though, we find out that Emery is kind of turning, also redeeming herself because she does, even though she takes away the Tuca doll that she had made, she drops it off at the end of that episode. So we can see that she's starting to turn to the
she
light
was
side.
very like. Well, then the very end, she turns her in.
I
She's
was
like,
I was very
yeah,
confused, because I could see where she had a little bit of emotion, not much. Like her emotional range is extremely small.
Hmm.
Um, but every time she took Omega's sample, she always moved it away from the others. And Nalase knew that was Omega's every single time.
Hmm.
To where even Omega was catching on, as you can see in the third episode, like when she took it, where she put it, she goes, "Okay, that's mine." Because Nalase is like, "I can't do it. You need to get rid of it."
Hmm.
So it's
I
that I
think
find
that
really weird.
I think that was for us to see as for us
The
kind of
viewers.
dumb down
Hmm.
because they never even labeled it. So I think that was kind of like let's just dumb this down a little bit because there's no how would she even know that was Omega's? 'Cause there's no labels and no nothing, and then put it on a whole tray. So I think
No, I
they're
think
just
they are labeled. I think they are labeled
I didn't
because
see
she,
any labels.
yeah, because when they would put them into the device, it would show who it was,
Yeah, but
and it had their
but you had
information.
to take the thing out and put it in there. What I'm saying is that she put it in a
Like the
specific
corner, it was always
spot,
in the corner.
right? But
So,
then Nalase knew, and that's why she'd pick it up and throw it underneath that machine and dispose of it.
But she didn't know until she put into the reader. Once she put into the reader, when it pulled up all the information, that the first was like, "Wait, why did she take yours?" And then she says, "Oh, she said it's just standard procedure. All clones have to get their blood samples."
Well,
That's
yeah,
when she
she
took
put.
it out and
Oh, you're right.
displayed
She
it.
put it in the
She put it
scanner.
and scanned
The
right that device,
scanner.
and that brought
Yeah,
up the blood samples information, the name, because you could read
it
everything.
that's right. Yep, yep,
Hmm.
yep, yep.
So
it
they were
was
labeled.
it was odd that she kept doing it. I mean, why would you do that every day? So why would her blood change? Are they doing any tests on Omega to change? I thought that was a little odd, but I think there's just some devices for the
Hmm.
viewers.
Right. And I did like that, in episode 2 was a good one because at the beginning I love seeing how the you know the the prince's horn had been shaved off, right? And so
Right.
then they and how she dropped the first one sacrificed like Jabba's into the not the Sarlacc pit. What is it? Dropped into the with the what's that
Yeah, that
animal?
was definitely like a. No, it's a Rancor.
The Rancor. Yeah, the Rancor pit. That was pretty cool. And wasn't that cool to have Angelica Houston as the voice of Lady Duran?
I didn't know that. I heard
Oh,
of
Pretty
it.
I
This is
awesome.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I love her.
okay.
That was really cool. But then 100 record get there to get the info, the intel, and it takes them to uh, that planet where they find that it's already been destroyed, like Tapoka City, and that's when they find the kids and
Yeah.
and the
Well,
they
the
say,
kids
don't touch
find
the
them.
vines. Yeah, and the kids are like, don't touch the vines. And of course, and the vines come out, and the vines are, of course, like the Drengir, because remember the vines would go out and grab them and wrap them up and go into their nostrils and any orifice, any opening that would go in, and so they were trying to do that with those vines too. So I loved it. And then when they would,
I absolutely love Mike trying to make this tied into the High
it's
Republic.
it's connected to the Drengir. It might not be the Drengir because they killed the progenitor back in the High Republic times, but I mean the other ones were still around. What if remember how Palpatine was always using the Zillo Beast? Remember he created the Zillo Beast from the DNA of the creatures from the Zephos, and then so the Drengir he might have taken that DNA too because he's just trying to like it was for a weapon, but it got out of control.
They even say, what does Hemlock tell Sheev when he first gets on the planet? He says something like, "We've gotten better at controlling something." Almost, I don't know if he's talking about the Zillo Beast or what. Do you remember that line he said? And then he says, "Well, let's talk about the Operation Necromancer." But he was talking about something else in the beginning. Did you catch that?
I have to rewatch it, but yes, I do remember, but I have to rewatch it and pay more
Yeah.
attention. But I just got so happy to see those and the little carnivorous with their teeth and everything like that was just like the Drengir. I'm like, yes, finally, because it
I mean,
was
there's a
like
lot of plants out there in this world, so I'm just saying it's probably just a hybrid or
you know
something.
what? Okay, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the Drengir, but it's a carnivorous plant that can move and chase and attack
It's
humans and try to eat
it's
them.
genus species is
I will not
Drangir.
argue with you on that, Mike.
And I like those vines because it was wrapping them and pulling them up just like the Drengir did in the comics. So I
Oh,
love
man.
it. I love me the High Republic. So anytime I can see,
When
I
when
do
he
see these are connecting a lot of things in
when
Star
he
Wars now,
cut the vine that fell off was still alive, right?
just like the Drengir.
Just
Remember,
like the Drangir. When you cut
just
them in
like the
half, they
Drengir.
still live. So that's kind
Hmm.
of that's it. It's settled.
Yeah,
It's
it's Drengir esque.
it's from the Drangir, and Omega has Yaddle blood in her.
Yeah, there you go. You heard it
Oh
here,
my
folks. You
goodness.
heard it here.
Hot take.
So
Omega
you're
is
you're
the
either Team
sister of Baby
Bryce,
Yoda.
the Negator, or Team John and Mike, the winners.
I don't know.
So it's cool because going now to the third episode. Anything else you guys want to say about the second episode?
I know I already mentioned this. I was really, really happy to hear Daniel Logan again. I know
Yeah.
he wanted to he was kind of pitching to be Boba Fett when they were doing the series, but didn't get it. But I'm glad they brought him back in to at least do his voice. As soon as I heard that, I was like,
Well,
that's Daniel
I
Logan's
I
voice.
think there might be room in this season to see him as Boba Fett, though.
Maybe.
You mean
Yes.
hear him as Boba Fett?
I
I think we might see him.
But it's animated. We won't see
Right,
Daniel
but I
Logan.
mean, we'd hear him. But you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
he'd
yeah,
be
yeah.
Boba Fett. Like, I mean, we're getting Fennec back.
But you
Cat
know what?
Bates
If we
coming
get
back.
Boba Fett, it would be it wouldn't be Daniel Logan's voice because Boba Fett's voice was always
But you got to
Tamura.
understand, this is still after Order 66. This is still nowhere near the episode 4, where then Boba Fett would be more Boba Fett, Tamora Morrison. Like, this would still be a transition point where Daniel Logan could still voice Boba Fett. Absolutely. Remember, he's unaltered and grew up normal, the same as Omega. So how we see Omega is the same age that Boba Fett would be right now. And we know that he started becoming a bounty hunter during the
but
Clone Wars.
they're not the same age. She's
I thought
also unaltered, but they're not the same age.
They're not?
I don't
he
think
was
so.
one of the first ones made as
Yes.
Right,
Right.
but so was she.
I thought Omega meant last.
Yeah, she was the
She was
last one made,
Yeah.
but she was also so Daniel Logan was the first. He's the alpha, and then Omega was the last. So only the
That's right.
first and the last are unaltered. That's how I
I don't know if
interpret it
that's
too.
confirmed, but that's
Hmm.
what I always thought of too. So maybe
That's what I thought too. But I know
So
that
then
only the
he's
first and the
possibly
last are
maybe
unaltered.
what, a year or two older than her.
say max 5 years older
I
than
think
her.
So
5.
still not, probably still, again, Daniel Logan could still voice.
Yeah, that's right. Because she's 12 now, so he would be 17.
I would say 5 max. Yeah,
Yeah, I think 5.
Yeah.
but
All
I
right.
mean, it would be cool. I was really happy to see him. I was really glad. And the one thing I thought is when they were all on that ship, I almost thought they were gonna like join them on the little crew, like Bad Batch down to 2. They could use some reinforcements, and those kids kind of don't have a purpose in life. So I thought they were gonna say, "Hey, we'll join you." I mean, technically they're regs, and they have a bone to pick with Empire. So I thought
Right.
maybe they'd want to join, but
But I think
they,
that
Well,
the
I don't
ending they
think
gave us
Hunter
was a
gave him
better
a
ending, though.
choice.
No,
Yeah,
that
I
was a
don't.
better
Hunter
ending.
didn't give him a
Yeah, because he
choice.
knows that they're kids and he wants them to be kids and grow up as kids. Because he learned
Yeah.
that having Omega with them.
oh
Because
yeah,
he
Yep.
was a different person before Omega, but then his experience with Omega changed his views. Because even when they went to go see what's that other one that was the clone that was living with the wife and they had the 2 kids? What's his name? Cutter.
Yeah, Cutter.
Cutter. So when the interactions with Cutter and how Cutter was trying to live a normal life, and then the kids, and then Omega to playing with the kids, he started saying, you know what, children need to have a child like experience, and that's what he wanted for Omega too. But then she was like felt abandoned, and so then he felt bad. He's like, no, she's my family. This is like my daughter. So I think he wants these boys, Zeke and Mox and what's the other guy's name?
I can't.
I couldn't remember.
It's Deke and Mox, and there's one other boy, but they're regs, but they're children, and so he just thought, you know what, they need to have a good experience just being away from the Empire where they won't be found. So I'll drop them off on that island
Well,
where
the
they have
2
friends.
younger boys I thought were maybe 12 to 14, but Mox I thought was maybe closer to young adulthood. He
Yeah, he
seemed
was
like
he was definitely older. Yeah, for sure.
he had
And
different
also
voice
why I
acting.
think Daniel Logan could also voice Boba Fett is because
Yeah.
of that too.
He could be around that age, 18 years old around there. So
Oh, maybe.
maybe that is Boba Fett. It's
But
just different name.
I
No, it's
do
not.
like, so going back to like the episode 2, I do like how he's like, well, we could steal the ship and go, but then Mox is like makes a decision that we're gonna go get them.
Right.
So they took their ship, and instead of leaving, they decided.
Because he did say if we leave them, we're no better than what the Empire did to us.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then he did like how he also mentioned he liked how they were so committed to going back to save their friend or their family member, which was
The
Thomas.
loyalty. Yeah.
Their loyalty to not abandon, because they were abandoned. So he
Yeah.
did value. He started to see that they're righteous and that he liked their point of view and their thinking. So that was good. And that brings us to the last episode, Shadows of Tantus, and here we see more development of Emery, how she's evolving, and then we find out too that I didn't talk about it, but they're going to kill Batcher, right? Because Batcher, at first she was injured, but then Omega healed her, with the med kits.
Mhm.
But then after time has gone by, she domesticated her.
Yeah.
And then they thought, you know what, she's no good to us now because she's basically a pet. So we have to destroy her. And so she's like, no, I have to let her escape. So she helps her escape, right? And then what's his name? The doctor. Dr.
Hemlock.
Hemlock. He tells her, well, that's so cruel because now that she's domesticated, she won't be able to survive out there. And Omega's like, but you don't know that.
Right.
And at the end of the episode, we see Batcher howling at the moon, right? So she hasn't been destroyed. She didn't get killed. She did survive. And then she comes back in Shadows of Tantus to help them.
I saw that coming once they were
Oh, yeah.
outside. I
Yeah.
saw that coming.
Once she started befriending him, like in the very first episode, oh, she's gonna use Batcher to help escape. Like I was like, yeah. So
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, Walt used his or her. I can't remember. Is it?
It's
It's
a
a her.
female. Batcher's a her.
Female.
Mhm.
Yeah. Use her tunnel to escape anyway. Like I could.
Right.
I saw that foreshadowing when with the whole escape thing. I was like, okay, that's their way out. But then how are they gonna,
Yeah.
how are they gonna get out? The title, Shadows of Tantus, and then underneath it, Crosshair and Omega hatch a plan. I'm like, okay, well, you kind of just gave away the premise of the episode in the description. I would
I
have rather
know.
have seen it just happen naturally. That's
remember
my
in the-
only beef.
You know
I
what my
remember
beef
In
too? My
Ahsoka,
beef.
they wouldn't show us the titles for like a few hours. I'm like, why did
Right.
they do that?
It wouldn't. Now they do. But my beef with this was at the beginning of season 3, they had like a review catch up, right? And I thought it was going to be a review of the previous seasons, and it wasn't. It was like a collection of clips from the future episodes. I think it's the first 8. And it says in there that they used Crosshair's code to contact the Bad Batch, Hunter and Wrecker. And I'm like, oh, they spoiled it because she hasn't used this code yet.
Um,
Did it use at the end of last season?
Crosshair used that.
Crosshair uses it.
Crosshair used it in season 2.
Oh, but so she uses it now. Oh, okay.
Because remember, they're trying to find the reason why they go to the crashed ship is to try to use a communication.
Right, but it wasn't working.
It wasn't working, right? But eventually, she's going to be able to communicate.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I think it's a
watching the
spoiler.
third episode, you see that, but I think in the trailer it was Crosshair that was reaching out to them and warning them of what was happening.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, it was like that was. Because I remember they're like, well, that's Crosshair's signal, and I think that was even before Tech fell. Because that's all I'm going to say is Tech fell.
He's dead.
Died. He died.
Tech is dead.
I don't know. I'm telling you right now, my wife is dead set on the trooper that we see staring Crosshair down in the third episode is Tech reincarnating.
No.
She is dead set on it.
I mean, he could have turned him into
Tech is
android, but
dead.
he still died.
Tech is dead.
Yeah, they could have used his body, but he's dead.
You know what? The nicest just could have brought him back with a green smoke. So
We'll
still
see.
not the same.
somehow he survived. Somehow he survived. You know.
And they're gonna make a whole 3 new seasons just to prove how to
Explain
give it up.
how he survived.
God.
As he was falling, a bird flew under him and captured his body, and then landed him in the nest.
But I think really one of the biggest moments in the third episode was finally getting to see the vault ish. Like we're now inside the vault and they opened the door and Palpatine was pleased with what he saw, but we didn't see what he saw. So were we seeing the clones of himself, or were we seeing some of the first clones of Snoke?
Maybe.
Because we also know in Mandalorian that we see what appeared to be early
Snoke clone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Snoke clones as well. And that's only 5 years after Return of the Jedi that they were doing that. So my guess is that it's most likely him. Because we do know in the Legends comics that he clones himself several times over to have battles with Luke.
At Mount Tantus.
I don't think there's a Snoke clone. I think Snoke clones are Palpatine's clones mixed with the special goo coming out that bad. I don't think they're cloning someone who looks like Snoke over and over. I think they're mutations of.
That's very possible.
Why would they keep cloning it?
Or it was a way to keep Palpatine's identity a secret, with the Snoke clones too. Like
maybe
Snoke may have never even been a real person. They could just made him.
Yeah. Well, remember even in Legends, the Palpatine clone did not look like him.
Right.
So that Snoke could have been a Palpatine clone, but just it didn't look like him. And it turns out it was Palpatine controlling that Snoke. It was him doing the voice, doing everything all along.
Yep. So we see an image of Rey's dad, which is a clone of Palpatine.
Yes.
It doesn't look anything like Palpatine.
It doesn't, because that's his son. So, but it's
they call it his son, but it's a clone. It's a non-force sensitive clone.
Right, they had cloned him.
Yeah, it's not his son. They
Well,
called it his son,
right.
but
That
it's
was
just a
the
clone.
Yeah,
Umbaran. What's her name? It
I
was
kind
it
of
was
feel that was a lot like Django saying that, price of my
Yeah.
DNA is giving me an unaltered clone that I can raise as my own with Boba. Um,
but Boba looks just like him.
So I think they're adding some special goo from a smash down Omega. They wring her out. That's how they're
Once they
getting these.
capture her and kill her, yes.
oh my
They're
god.
putting her in a juicer,
And they're
and
gonna
that's where
blend it with the vine creatures.
yeah, and
Oh,
so
here we
that's why
go.
they need Baby Yoda
We're
because
off the
her
rails.
special goo just isn't working.
Well, okay, let's reel it back in. So at the end of the third
2
episode,
teaspoons of Omega.
we find out that Omega's blood is successful for it supports the M count transfer. So not necessarily that she is force sensitive and has M count, but that goo that they were dropping, that little droplet, was something to see if the M count would transfer to her DNA blood. So it did work for the transfer without degradation.
Right. But if you remember back in episode 1, when they took Anakin's blood, sent it to Obi-Wan, remember there was like this little sphere and it projected
big
out.
bubble.
That's the same thing Omega saw on the data pad. It's the same thing. It was an
because it's Palpatine's M count. Palpatine is also really strong in the Force. So
Well,
they're trying
right.
to see it's a droplet of his DNA that they're putting into each sample of blood to see which one will not degrade after transferring that M count to that new sample. And so now that they put Palpatine's M count DNA into her blood and it did not degrade, then she's suitable for a transfer.
I think next week we'll need Emery or Nala Say on as a special guest to explain all
Yes.
this for us.
Well, I don't think Nala Say is going to make it much further. I don't.
I think she
Well-
will because they still need her because
I think
she's the Camino scientist.
yeah.
I don't think she's surviving the series though.
Oh no,
I don't think a lot of people are.
Yeah,
Yeah. You think Bad Batch? That's a good question. What are our predictions for the season?
they're all gonna die just like in Rogue One.
Mm,
They can't survive because we don't see them again.
no, I do see them going back to the island. But it's not all of them. I think Omega.
Wrecker lives. I don't know about.
I
Hunter.
don't think Hunter will.
think
I'm with
Wrecker
you on
will.
that, Jonathan. I don't think Hunter will, and I don't think Echo will. I
Or
think
Tech.
Oh.
Tech's already dead.
Echo.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be because
Echo's been through a lot. I don't know if they can do anything else to him.
I hate saying it, but like he's not there with Rex and Rebels. He's not.
Well,
It's
I don't.
Wolf and it's
He's been through a lot.
Gregor.
I gotta assume his life expectancy isn't the same.
I think Hunter sacrifices himself. I think that's going to be the big Kanan moment in
That's
this
his Freddie
season.
Prinze Jr. moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still
We're
can't
gonna-
get over that. I've watched that episode so many times of Rebels, and it still hits me
Yeah, that's awful.
every single time. But yeah, I think Hunter makes that play. But I see Wrecker going back and just being able to live the rest of his life on that island.
I think
Probably with
Omega
Omega.
has to live because it's going to be so rough to kill her off. She's young.
Yeah, they can't kill a youngling.
It'd be really rough, but she's not in anything in the future.
Unless
so
they
I-
progress
yeah.
years and years through the season. Like we already saw years pass by in the first episode. And
That's
we
true.
already know that's how they're going to do it with Andor in season 2, is that every so many episodes is just one complete year. So we're going to advance all the way up to Rogue One and Andor. So it can be done.
And it could be like the same thing that happened with in the Fallen Order, where they found that they were able to travel to that like planet that's outside the. It was kind of hidden. Remember
You
the
mean a
one
survivor?
Jedi Survivor? Yes.
Yeah.
Remember how they get to that special place that's like a force sensitive planet or something, or has like where they can't find them. It's kind of
Right.
hidden, kind of like how they went to
Or at least they weren't supposed to be able to find them.
right, but it's very difficult to find, just like
Mhm.
it's difficult to
Yeah.
find Exegol. So it could be a secret place like that they went to that they weren't coming back and you didn't know, or kind of like how Ahsoka's now in a different galaxy, right, from Peridia.
Well, not at this time though.
No, but I'm saying the same way
But
how that happened.
right, yeah.
Then now we know that there are locations in Star Wars. Oh, and in the High Republic, we have the search for Planet X, right? And Planet X is like a secret magical place where uh, those eggs came from that were the nameless.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that in the Star Wars lore, there are these secret places that are hard to find. That once you're there, it's really hard to find them again. So they could live there in secrecy and not be found and be free from the Empire or because I don't. The Bad Batch doesn't. They just want to be left alone and disappear and live their lives in peace. That's what they want. But right now they're being hunted.
It would be interesting too, because as obviously the years have advanced, and I haven't researched this, so I'm only just guessing. I wonder if this is taking place the same time as Jedi Survivor was.
Because they went to wait, did they go to a scrapping planet? Was that it? Oh no,
They
that
went
was
to
in.
Braca in the first season. They went to
And
Braca, which
I'm thinking of the Young
and that
Jedi
was
Academy, the Young Jedi.
oh well,
They went
right,
to
what
Braki too, but that's
right,
way back.
yeah, but they traveled to Braca shortly after
Right.
Order 66, but Cal wasn't on the planet by then. He
Had
survived
left.
Order 66 on
Mhm.
that planet, and
Right.
or no, sorry, I take that back. No, he went to Braca after he survived
And that's where
Order
he was
66.
hiding.
And that's
Right.
where
That's
he
where he
was
was
hiding.
hiding. Right.
So Bad Batch was there the same time Cal was there.
Because I remember I was hoping I would see him somewhere, but we didn't.
But I
Wouldn't
wonder
that
though
be
if they could
amazing?
cross.
Brought Cal in just for like a cameo, and that'd be pretty cool.
Well, they
Mm.
kind of set some things up in Survivor with them being able to go to this planet. They have the pathway they can go
Right.
to and from. He can go whenever he wants, just because
Right.
I mean,
He can take Omega there. And
so
Wrecker.
it does leave like, because the game is canon, right? The game is canon.
canon.
Everything that's coming out is canon. To where it's possible that maybe we get an animated Cal Kestis in Bad Batch, or maybe in the third game, Jedi game, we actually get a Bad Batch scene. Like, it's so possible. I mean, I know I'm just shooting things off at the hip.
No,
but
I mean, usually when
I
they
think
do
it's
their
very
crossover,
possible.
it's animation first. I mean, a lot of the characters that were in the show, they made this little animation. Like, oh, that's so cool to finally see them. So I could definitely see that happening. Cal, come to animation
But they're
before.
I
they're
would love it.
they're definitely after Omega now for sure, because that's the
Oh,
only
yeah.
reason that they didn't destroy them. Hemlock's like, we need that girl, so there's no way she can hide. There's no way she can stay in the Star Wars universe and not be hunted down. So
Well, at
something's gonna
this
have to
point,
happen.
yeah. I mean, at this point, Fennec's in this season. Cad Bane's
Mhm.
back. So we do know that
So
the bounty hunters are.
Asajj Ventress is back.
I think they
Yes.
100% capture her again. They definitely do. I think.
Hmm.
Oh, they capture Omega?
Yeah, I
And
think
turn her into, get some goo out of her, squeeze some juice, Omega juice.
but they do capture again, and 100%. Yeah.
It's very possible, and that might be when Crosshair meets his end too.
Well, because he has to redeem himself. Even Emery's going to be redeemed. Watch, they're all going to redeem.
I'm not really confused on that one.
It's Disney's
I can see
Oprah
it go
redemption.
both.
You get a redemption, and you get a redemption, and you
It's
get a
not
redemption.
Oprah Winfrey.
It's the
I mean-
Oprah Disney redemptions.
I
Watch.
just don't know about her. Like, I think it could go either way. I'm just not. I don't know.
I
I'm
think
not
she's gonna be
sold either way
redeemed.
yet.
I think so. I think she'll be
I
redeemed.
need to know
I
more
don't know.
about her past before they decide to do anything else with her.
Yeah.
But
I need to know more.
I will say this. The Kreiner music, the Kreiner family, because it wasn't just Kevin. I do believe his daughter was very heavily involved in the soundtrack for these first 3 episodes. Holy cow, did that add intensity
Mhm.
to every episode? It actually got to the point Sophia was like looking at me saying, Daddy, this music. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah. Oh, and
Like,
how about including the John Williams score when the Emperor arrived on Tantus?
yeah.
That was John Williams' score. So
Well, and was that Ian too? That was Ian's voice.
I think so. Or
I
it might
don't think
not
it was
be.
Sam.
But there's another voice actor that does the Emperor. But I don't know if it was Ian or the other actor.
Hmm.
I don't know that.
Okay.
All right.
So, in
What,
conclusion,
let's see. What are our final thoughts?
yeah, good. We're on the same wavelength. Final thoughts, Bryce.
I really liked it. Obviously the first and third episode were directly connected, but could see how in the second episode, seeing Hunter and Wrecker and how they're surviving and how what they're doing, what lengths they're willing to go to find Omega is great. It's cool to see different clones, that have been surviving on their own.
Mhm.
And so we know that we're going to see Hunter and Wrecker go back to the island, which means that we're going to get Wanda Sykes, and Wanda Sykes is going to con him into doing some kind of job. Like, that's just who she
course.
is, right? So that's going to happen. So there'll be a little bit of a derail there, but yeah, the Omega and the Crosshair thing is really interesting. It has been a very interesting point since the first season when she tried to get him to come after they rescued him again from Camino, and she's always sensed something about him, whether it was when he was going to betray the Bad Batch or like even now she knows he's not doing well. She sees the shakes of the hands. So yeah, it's interesting because he finally, after they got outside and they got to a certain point in the third episode, she's like, I'm so sorry that I did this. She goes, well, you got us this far. Like, I think he was like, at that point, he's like, I can't even believe we made it this far, and we did, so we're not going to give up. So,
Right.
I don't know. I really love all 3.
Jonathan?
It was entertaining. I think part of my issue was all 3 came out at once, so I had to sit down and watch all 3. And there was slow parts, so it's kind of like I was watching a long movie. And I was waiting for kind of some of the action parts. So I love the second episode and the Dren gear and all that. It's just great. And the actual Bad Batch and Daniel Logan. I just loved everything about the second one. And the first 1 and 3 was telling the bigger story, the more important story. So they definitely, I'm not gonna say they sucked. They just first one was a little slow for me, but I'm excited. Can't wait for the rest. Yeah, I think we're not gonna have some of the best endings.
Yeah, no, it was Ian. It was
you know,
Ian for the Emperor.
Oh, cool.
So,
Yeah.
what were your final thoughts?
I think for the opening of the third and final season, I think it was a good start. I really enjoyed all 3 episodes. My favorite were the second and third because I felt the first was a little bit too slow, but it did connect to the third episode, which sped it up a little bit and made more connections to like a lot of the different things. And the second one too, like I saw High Republic connections, I saw connections to prequels, connections to sequels, lots of connections. And I know Disney's doing a really good job where they're in control of all these connections across the different genres and things.
I thought one of Dave and John's plans between the animation shows and the live shows was to actually start bridging the gap better from the original trilogy to the sequel trilogy, to where the sequel trilogy you would find more value because they're building that world and they're building those connections, and so then the people who don't agree with the sequel trilogy are going to start seeing things in a different light and
I-
realize they're not going to retcon these. They're going to make them. They're going to
Right.
make them work.
Well, they already
think-
said they are going to fix it because there was so much missing in the sequel. It's more the problem of the sequel trilogy that didn't have that connected vision throughout. So they're going to fix it all to make it. They're going to go in there and cut and paste and glue things to make it fit.
I think the plan was to kind of do what Bryce was saying. Overall, make it work better, but they really got stuck on the line somehow Palpatine got better. I mean, Mando 3 seasons about cloning, Bad Batch 3 seasons about cloning. It's
Project
never
Necromancer. They mentioned Project Necromancer
kind of
twice
like-
now.
They're really kind of like, how do we fix that? Because it just drove people nuts. So I think kind of like, how do we fix it? Instead of maybe focusing more on where's the First Order come from? How does the Republic get to where it's going to be? I kind of want to see more of that instead of just keep focusing so much on. But I think Mando the movie, and if we get Mando anything going forward, is going to focus more on the big story instead of focusing on the cloning part, which what I would like to see because we've seen a lot of this cloning stuff. We kind of already know what they want to do. He's trying to clone himself. Okay, we got it.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
So that's our first review for the first 3 episodes of the final season. And where's the ticker tape?
Oh yeah, the ticker tape.
Ticker tape.
It's been so long since we've
The
done
ticker tape, Jonathan?
It hasn't been that long. It's only been a couple weeks.
So be sure you're following us on YouTube at Virtual Cantina Network, on Instagram at virtual.cantina network, on X, formerly Twitter, at Cantina Virtual, on Threads at virtual.cantina network, on Hive at Virtual Cantina, and on TikTok at Virtual Cantina. And like the VCN Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025 Facebook page, and of course our sister sites, right?
Star Wars Comic Book Club and Star Wars Book Nerds.
Both great sites, partners and good partners of ours. We love them.
Please comment. That's really the most important thing. Comment, watch the show, obviously. A comment, tell Mike he's crazy, tell
Yes.
Bryce he doesn't know what he's talking about, and agree with me or whatever.
If you're
Microwave
Team
them.
Drangir, let me know your Team Drangir. I'm really sad and
Please
crying because no
like,
one's
comment,
commented anything.
subscribe. Have you ever released the show yet?
And anybody's on Team Sanity.
Team Insanity because he's
Hey.
delirious. It's past midnight for poor little Bryce.
Juice
He
and
gets to sleep.
Omega. So
I am.
All
I'm
right,
not the
guys.
one talking about squeezing somebody out physically.
Juicer.
They're gonna
It's just
Omega Juice. Omega
so
Juice.
bad. All right,
right,
we got to end
guys.
it on that.
I really appreciate it. May the force be with you, and see you next week.
All right, may the force be with you.
Bye.